Welcome back to another episode of Humanhood101's Parental Confessions. We are here with yet another amazing guest, someone that has been very influential in my life, someone who's partially responsible for my life. My father, Mr. Eric Lemons.
All right.
How you feel today, Pop?
I am excellent. I am so glad and honored to be here on this Friday morning here. Or is it Thursday? Yeah, Friday morning, right?
It's actually Thursday.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay. They don't know what day it is.
Vacation. Lose track of time.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate, the time to speak over here with you guys.
Yeah. So it's awesome because I've been wanting to do this and to be able to interview parents on the show called Parental Confessions. Probably one of the most difficult interviews to do is to interview your own parents.
I ain't got to do it.
Yeah, and then maybe having your child interview you. I don't know what that. I'm gonna have my daughter do that, Adama do that. But tell the audience a little bit about yourself and just a brief what you do. And
Sure, I am a freelance musician. I'm a bassist. I'm from Jamaica, Queens, New York, by way of Bed-Stuy. And I reside in Bed-Stuy now, where I'm co-owner of a business called Brownstone Jazz. So I'm the business owner as well as a freelance musician and an educator. I'm about to retire from the Department of Education. I've given them some years, and I've had a great experience teaching, band and various instruments in general. And I'm a composer, and I'm putting together my second CD now with some new ideas, some really exciting things I'm really, really looking forward to. And feel like I'm 15 years old, like the music does. It just gives you all that energy like you're a little kid. And I got some great plans, and travel plans, and some connection plans. And that's where I'm at. And I'm also not to mention I'm approaching my 63rd birthday.
oh, 6'3".
I can't believe it.
Well, thank you for being here and stepping into what some parents has called the lion's den of interviewing. This is going to be a good one, y'all. I don't know how many people have taken the opportunity to go and speak to your parents and talk to them and ask them the questions that you are scared to probably even ask yourself. But this will be the first, so y'all are lucky. Y'all are lucky to get this. All right. So, all right. Yeah, you want to jump into it? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You good? You all right? Because a lot of parents, they be like, "Ooh, they get all nervous." But this man, I've never seen him nervous in my life. He's just been cool, and all of you who know me personally, y'all think I'm cool and smooth and and calm, and this is where I get it from. So, how many children do you have, Pop?
I have 4. Right, the one I'm speaking to now, the eldest, and Mary, my stepdaughter, and my twins. That's the American dream: 2 girls and 2 boys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been all, and I've been blessed with some great spirits. And we are still in the middle of it. Long way to go.
And and 2 of your children are relatively young.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned I'm going to be 63, and my twins are 15. And they were born late in the year. They just had their 15th birthday. And that's a big jump. Big jump. We don't do that these days. We don't have kids at 47. Right. We try not to because it could be physically demanding. You're 75 and they're in high school and they still need you to run around and catch them and battle with them and yell at them, So it's a challenge, but I love it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Kudos to you having twins, have teenage twins at the age of 63. Mm-hmm. That is a way to be stretched. You're talking about being flexible in your thinking, your parenting. We're gonna talk about that anyway. Let's go. So, 4 children. What has been your biggest challenge in parenting? With any and or all of the children. You can start with one, or you want to be general and do the whole thing. However you want to answer.
Biggest challenge is taking Eric out of the equation. Parenting, it's hard work. being whether the stepfather, which is the thankless job of the world, and it's just a tough challenge. Taking me out of the situation where I know I got to be a drill sergeant. No, you can't go to this club. It's a dangerous neighborhood, and it's late, and you're gonna stress us all out, and you're gonna mess up our night. That's the reality, and your grades aren't good enough, so you really shouldn't be there. That's not Eric, I always kind of try to, rationalize. And maybe you can go hang out for, so that's the biggest challenge. And also just the discipline, putting my foot down and really, really staying on it 24/7 because I am so much into having fun. I want everybody to have fun. And I'm almost willing to allow you to have more fun than I am, and that shouldn't be cool, right? Right. So, that's my biggest challenge. I'm still working on that. I'm still working on making that. We're not buddies. I love you more than you would know, but we're not buddies.
Yeah.
I'm 97. I'm still going to be a parent.
Right.
I'm still going to have to, challenge you and discipline you.
Absolutely. He's talking to his 40-plus-year-old son. Yeah. So when you talk about and when you say take yourself out of the equation, what does that look like?
What I am, my characterization, of easygoing, like you said. I'm even tempered. I never yell. Some relationships can bring yelling at you, but I never yell. I never make, hasty decisions. Never make a decision when I'm mad. And when I say I'm taking myself out, because that looks like a guy who does the stuff that you're supposed to do, basic parenting stuff, no nonsense. Especially as an African American, I think we are very unique in the role of parenting. No one's been through what we've been through. I know we all heard that before, but come on, let's keep it real. Yeah. So for years we've been taught to have someone else take care of our kids. So it's kind of weird, a little in a weird way. I couldn't use the word weird, but it's no doubt that it's a different kind of challenge, a special challenge as an African American. You got to figure that out. Every single day, innovations, ideas, the adjustments. Old school versus new school. I got to really hear these kids. I got to relate to them, and it's not always easy. So that's what that looks like. Taking me out of the situation is being the real drill sergeant that I need to be, nonstop, whether they like it or not. And I know what's right. I have a conscience. I can see what's right for a kid and what's bad for a kid and what's good for a kid.
What about your biggest parenting fear, if you have any? Or
yeah, of course I have a parenting fear. I had my daughter come home with Mike Tyson. Have my son do questionable stuff like do drugs, become a menace to society. Having to go to the precinct and get the news that there's a court date coming up and it doesn't look good. That's the fear. Them being in the cell or being in a traumatic relationship where I can do nothing about it. I'm right there. I'm right next door, and there's nothing I can do. Because they love this person or they love this action or the criminal act, they're attached to it. And that's a fear that I dream or nightmare almost constantly. I think about it all the time. And my mother raised 10 kids, Bedford-Stuyvesant in the 1950s. And I was asked, well, how did she do it? You were 7 boys in the 50s with the drugs moving, spiking, the drug use spiking, the criminal, the crimes, the gangs. And they said they just prayed. They prayed 24/7.
Yeah.
And we have a higher power. I go to that. I clearly go to that. So that's my biggest fear right now. Getting the call, getting up at 3 in the morning and having to go to the precinct and hearing bad news. And we think about that all the time.
How do you deal with that? I mean, I know earlier you said you remove yourself from the equation when dealing with the challenges. Obviously, fear is one of a major parenting challenge. But how do you deal with everyday parental fears of your kid not coming home or a kid across the country doing something wild or whatever the case is?
I try to remedy it by making sure the conversation almost every day. We all know how to deal with an uncomfortable situation. We have good timing. We have good rhythm. I just remind them that safety is a big deal. And I talk to them. I know it's going to be a good day. because we talk every morning, and I give God, praise, and I, thank you for keeping my kids safe today,
Right.
So prayer is one thing. I talk to them about good timing, staying, away from crowds. We believe that when you move around a lot, the bombs can't hit you, but when you're standing still, they're direct hits. So I throw these metaphors at them, and I throw these ideas at them, and that's how I deal with the fear. And I fear less, knowing that I did my best at 5 minutes on a phone call. When I call at 7:14 in the morning, when they're getting on the bus to go to school, and when I'm driving down to Jackie Robinson to get to work, and that's what allows me to remedy this fear. Or at least deal with it, because we know what fear is. But false images appearing real.
False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
It's what you create.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I went to a school that was pretty rough in Southeast Queens. 17 fights a day.
Yeah.
And but parents. My mother wasn't worried because she knows she does her job. She explained what to expect and how to deal with it, and a lot of praying. So that's one of the ways I deal with it. There are other ways too. Music. Nothing heals like music, and I'm always troubled by the fact that there's a disparity between what parents listen to, what kids listen to.
Yeah.
And they should have some kind of common ground. I should listen to hip hop and know what it is. I'm 63, yes.
Yeah.
I grew up around it, so to relate to your kids, I got to relate to what they listen to.
Absolutely.
And I find that very, very, very helpful to allow that to come in, let the music come in. We can sit down and listen to Kool and the Gang and recognize, the greatness of composition of that period and why they sang that way. Conversations going and on and on and on.
Just keeping that connection, keeping that bridge.
Keeping that bridge.
Yeah. That's tricky these days. I guess it's always been tricky. But how does that happen, and why does that happen from your experience as a parent and someone who's been parented? And we're gonna talk about how you were parented too. But how does the bridge stay strong versus how it's destroyed?
Well, I think it stays strong, but we just be honest about that. We're so apologetic. We don't want to tell the truth. I mean, the bridge is there because the evidence is there. Every form of American music comes from the African slaves here in this country. We developed so much and we contribute so much, and that bridge is bonded when you hear that, because kids are hearing this for the first time. Kids are now 20s and 30s and 40s. They're getting older now, and they never hear the stories. And they don't know, there's some of them are 50 now, and they don't communicate about Sam Jones or, the great musicians of that period, Charlie Parker and all the guys that we deem very important. And at the same time, we got to connect with what's happening today and why it happens today, why hip-hop is here, why it sounds the way it does, good, bad, or indifferent,
Yeah.
So those are the things that I think that's going to help create this bond that, even though you're 20 and I'm 60, what we're doing is the same.
Yeah.
We are part of something powerful and rich. And, what you listen to is cool. What I listen to is cool. Let's recognize that we both have, Charlie Parker and Tupac, what's the difference? They both got that energy, that extended rhythm, and everything. Everything is there, So there's a bond. And I think we can strengthen it by keeping it honest. Tell the truth. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it. It's not good to live in the past. I heard someone say it. When you live in the past, you're depressed. When you live in the future, you're anxious. And when you live in the present, you're at peace. But we have to mention, what our great forefathers left us, whether it's the music from Trinidad or the doctors that lived here in Brooklyn, wherever. There's so many great things to talk about.
Yeah.
That will keep us bonded,
And talking and communication. When we talk about the bridge, I think that it sounds like, the issues is lack of communication.
Yes.
Whether it's a human thing, whether it's a racial thing, whether it's an ethnic thing, a cultural thing, somehow the principles of effective communication has not been what they could be. Which led to separation, which led to, lack of knowledge being passed down, which led to a lot of lessons that some of us lost generations down the line. So how do you, because you come from, you were mentioning one of 10 siblings.
That's right.
I mean, and that's some parenting to
That's
raise
some parenting.
10 children in the starting from the
35 was the first
35.
child. The last child was in 63. She had sixth grade. She left school in sixth grade, and my father dropped out in third grade. Started driving for RC Cola Company, And they, got married, came to New York, and raised 10 children in Bed-Stuy.
How does the way you were parented show up or affect the way you parent, if you see any similarities?
Oh, yes, carbon copies, But let me change that, because it's, I've been divorced a couple of times, I haven't had longevity with the relationship in the household with the kids, but I had enough years though, just to take a look at my work as a parent, and as it compares to the way I saw my parents saw, that it was clearly love is first, God is number one, family two, and the evidence is shown there in every step, in every conversation, in every action, I still bring that. I bring the things my father had think about closing the windows and the doors and never have the shades open. I still have that fear. He had experience once, watching somebody get hurt because somebody went through the window with a brick, and it terrified him to the point where the shades got to be down by a certain time of the day. I brought that same energy to the household. My father was a little, older. My father was about actually the same distance between me and my kids, maybe 40 years, 55, maybe he was 55 when I was born. Wow. But he was a little indifferent, he was the father that, like, I'm tired, man. I'm born in 1907. I don't have to do nothing but sit here and look at you guys. That's the kind of deal I thought I saw with him, but he was being a silent, powerful father. He was resting. He was too old to, really run with us because, like I said, we're 45 years difference, maybe 52 years difference, if I can, because his documentation is not official. He was born, we believe, in 07, and I'm born in 1959, so that's 52 years, And his act of parenting, what he did, I can do, he loved baseball. I think baseball's like religion. If you get in my face, you're going to learn about baseball. If you're my kid, you better know the name of 5 major baseball players. That's how my father was. You couldn't leave the house. Music, he's got Amelia Jackson's being played at Christmas. You got to be crazy. You think you're going to change that station. And I'm like that with him, with my kids. If it's time to listen to Nat King Cole, you better not turn it off. Because we, once again, we got to strengthen the bond. These are the guys from another period, and you should connect with that. Yeah. So I have a lot of that in me that I saw with my father. He was much tougher than me. He was 5'6". I'm 6'1". Mm-hmm. He's seen some stuff that I can even talk about. So there's something that was in his eyes that would never be in mine. But I saw enough too. I've seen stuff that has affected my relationship with kids. Yeah. With fear. If you've been through some racial stuff like being chased home by a lynch mob, which I've experienced 3 times, which kids don't see today. They don't know what that is. Right. My father saw that probably multiplied several times from my experience of his, which being, dealing with racism, dealing with discomfort and fear, and knowing that you can't go in that part of town, and when you can't go, kids don't have that today. We have lived through that. Yeah. And I bring that I can bring that also as an example of what I saw that's still in me. So that's one connection. In terms of my mother, I don't have none of her parenting qualities. I would have to live 5 lifetimes to equal her greatness as a parent. So I'm not even going to go there. Yeah. That's yeah.
What about your personal? I mean, what in relation to how you were parented? Like you spoke about some really strong and imperative qualities from your father, but from both your mother and father. What were there anything? Were there any things in regards to parenting that you did not like? Any experiences that maybe gave you trauma?
Nothing traumatic. Like I said, I hated to see them argue.
Yeah.
I would always have this fear about them getting old. That was my biggest fear, because you love your parents so much, and I saw them get old,
Yeah.
But the things that brought trauma, is what you're asking, that I saw in them and their relationship.
I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah. I would say only the drinking. My father had a drinking issue. It wasn't terrible. He wasn't a low bottom alcoholic, but he needed to have it every day. And it I didn't see the problems it caused because as a kid, I said to myself, why are you yelling at him for? Because it only costs 90 cents for whiskey or a bottle of booze. That's what I would tell myself. But I didn't realize that the disease called alcoholism, it just cuts your legs off, You can't be the father. And so I saw some of that. A middle version of it, a small version of how alcoholism or at least alcohol abuse can affect a relationship. So I saw a little bit of that. That was probably the worst. The arguments that were not excessive because we were so peaceful. I never saw a household that was so peaceful. I saw siblings that never argued with each other. So we saw mostly positive, beautiful experiences almost every day. I thought the whole world was like that. I thought Emerald City was like everywhere I go, where people smiled. My neighbors smiled all the time. They had this, because everybody came from something. This is the 50s St. Albans. Everybody knew the Mills Brothers. Everybody knew what Brooke Benton. You've been around these quality people, and it's got to rub off because everybody looked like they were movie stars in St. Albans. Wow. So I can't think of anything that was traumatic except excessive drinking, the arguing, like that happens in any household, and the economical hardship. You go as far as third grade and raise 10 kids and buy a house in Queens, and see what it's going to do to your budget. My father managed to have new cars. He managed to not crash the cars up.
Right.
There were no fights. There was no arguments. No one got hurt. I had one sibling had issues with drugs, but it didn't really devastate us. It was hard to see, and their reaction to it was something that was, a bit understanding. It's terrible. It's traumatic. You see your sibling struggling with an addiction, and you see how it hits your mother in the gut, and she's crying, and she's dealing with the precinct, and then her cry is my cry.
Yeah.
So that's probably the closest thing to trauma, seeing one of my brothers struggle with drug addiction, and having to see that stuff is stolen from the house, that he's in jail, he's beaten up. There's bad news today, there's bad news yesterday, and there's bad news tomorrow because of the drug addiction. And that's one of the things that was traumatic, not from the parent, but indirectly, because it went from one of my brothers to the parent,
right,
and it affected her.
So let's switch the gears, right? What is the most revealing quality about yourself that you might see in your child or any of your children? Excuse me.
They're peacemakers. They can diffuse a situation with their charm, which I can do.
Yeah,
I can turn anybody into or convince them to be either associated with music or somehow that's a very important deal. So we have that quality. We both can do that. We can talk things and convince people that this is a cool thing to do.
Okay.
And especially our son. We were like, I got a chance to teach in his school.
Yeah.
So now
that's awesome.
Daddy's the music teacher. Who would want their father to be the music teacher? No way. Yuck.
That's tricky. That's tricky.
I mean, you're in the cafeteria with your guys, and here comes Daddy. Yuck.
Man.
But it worked to perfection.
Yeah.
So the qualities that I have, that I see in him and I see in her, are diffusing negative situations, making anybody laugh. And I always had an attraction to thugs. I don't know if they have that. The tough guys in the school always like me. And I'm not a tough guy. I went to these tough schools, and I always surrounded myself around these gorillas, who were scared the principal out of the building. And that also that my son do. He doesn't hang with bad people. All his kids are good. Most of my friends are quality guys. But some neighborhoods you have to, you can't avoid these guys, and they would always like me. But other than that, we had so much chances of really keeping things calm. We can be lawyers, both of us. All three of us can be attorneys. We can really change the atmosphere of a room in a minute.
So,
in a positive way, of course.
What about what you might or have ever viewed as a negative quality? Do you see any qualities in your children that you have that are, destructive or negative or
No doubt.
something you don't like about yourself? Do you see anything you don't like about yourself in your children?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's I don't like my lack of discipline.
Huh.
It stinks. I want to kick it into the gutter. I really do, And I'll see it with them. They both have pretty good averages. Sama does doing a 93 average, 92 average construction engineer. Leah's, she's doing well with dance schools, but she doesn't like to work hard. She rather just, phone. She can work on the phone all day long, and just fall behind in the work.
Like most teenagers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that was me. I didn't like to sit down and do the work and go through the chapters. Let's wait till 2 days before the test, and then we'll just cram it all in. Other than something gets in the way, then it's a lousy grade. So there's no excuse. We have choices, of course, to jump on this thing way in advance and be on top of the class or be one of the top students because you did what it takes. Get up at 4 a.m. if it takes and do the work and get it done. I hate that in me, and I hate that in them. And I also a little selfishness, greedy. There's kids that will take too much. I see my kid do that the other day. We were out of town somewhere out at a wedding, and I went and bought this big platter of fruits and stuff for the kids. It's about 18 kids here. We have a big family, and this guy grabs like 75% of the grapes for himself.
Wow.
And walked away, and think nothing of it. And I said, there's like 9, 10 kids here would probably like some grapes, but now they can't get them because because you're in the mood. So that's a quality that's negative. And would I do that as a kid? Probably. Yeah. And myself, I see those same qualities. Could be a little selfishness, a little gluttony sometimes, maybe. Whether it is food or maybe something else that that you shouldn't be doing, like maybe strong drink, And I hope that doesn't come a problem with them. But I see them a couple of traits that are similar. Not a whole list of them, though.
That's good.
Also, I think it's a negative to avoid confrontation. I think sometimes you got to confront. It's your duty, especially if it's going to really affect a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And I think I would rather walk away from a confrontation and let it deal with itself. And I think he has that similar quality. I think she will challenge something more than either one of us would, We always feel like, look, I'm 63, it's worked for me this far, why not continue it? I could go deal with that situation because it's unnerving. But let's see if we can just let it die by itself. Easy way out, Can't say for sure, but I believe all my kids have that character. Their character.
What's the worst parenting experience you've ever had? The worst thing you've experienced?
Seen by my parents or done by
You,
myself?
as a parent, you. Whether you've seen it done, whether you did it, complete experience. Just one.
One bad experience I saw, I guess really annoyed me. Oh, one bad experience. This couple,
It's too many.
This is a tough one. This is one that comes to mind, though.
Okay.
And I gotta say it because it bothered me. And the person that involved was listening, they wouldn't challenge it because of the truth. And we said the truth does create bond and it creates freedom. And in bed with my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, who we're in bed together and we are in the same space, and kids are talking, and she made mention about something she saw, a part of my body, an organ, and she made the mention to her mother, something like, "Wow, Daddy's got one of those. He's got something here." Then the mother didn't understand at all, and she happened to be watching Oprah Winfrey at this guy who was accused of touching his daughter, and she took that and ran with it. And it really unnerved me. It really caused them a lot of division to be, accused of something that's impossible, because I don't even know what that is.
Right.
I don't know what that is. But I'm saying, like, God, that really tore me to the core. It really hurt me. It really, helped, cause problems with me personally. And it may led to some bad decisions to them, And of course, I forgive anything that was done, but I thought it was wrong to be inspired by a TV show, an article of some strange guy who did some strange shit with the kids, and to ask the 3-year-old, "Did Daddy do this? Daddy do that?" That was a hard one.
That I think that's hard on every end. You know, that could be tricky. You know, to even have to talk to your child. Sometimes a lot of parents that I work with have that fear where they won't even ask them. And then there's something happening, it's just gonna keep happening.
And I understand she had to say something. She's a mother.
Yeah.
She had to protect her daughter. I'm not saying, but she nothing condoning that, but of course it hurt, but I guess a
Right.
mother's got to question it.
Yeah.
Baby girl, did Daddy do this? Did Daddy do that? And
Right.
of course the baby girl says, "What the hell are you talking about?" Of course not.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it hurts still because
I bet. Yeah.
And I'm not. It's not a personal thing. Me and her are cool. We speak all the time.
Of course.
I just had to come to what bothered me more than anything as a parent. And I saw some stuff that of course that may have affected me. As a teacher, parent, because I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, and I saw some stuff done in the neighborhoods by parents being neglecting, bringing a kid home from a violin performance, and the girl's 9 years old, and the bus was late, so I personally took her to her apartment, and moms didn't know me from a can of paint, and she stuck her out the window and just threw the key down at us. And the girl looked at me, and it just went right through me. It just went through me, the fact that, depravity, the look of sadness, like, Mom don't even care about me. She's probably got some guy up there, and she won't even come see who you are. And that really bothered her for so long. We talked about that, and I tried to make excuses that Mom, maybe she wasn't feeling well. But that was devastating to see that.
Yeah. As a parent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Someone else's child.
Yeah. And those are the two things I can talk about in the air. Some things are
course.
worse than that.
Of course.
Those are things that stick out.
You can talk about anything you want on this air. These parents, they want to hear. This audience wants to hear, because the objective is to share in a way where other people can start sharing. Because a lot of parents don't talk about their experiences, and this is how some of us as parents continue to not master our parental experiences. This is how we continue to keep making the same mistakes, because we don't talk about it. We don't understand that there's somebody dealing with the same thing. So it's okay, acknowledge the situation, and let's see what we could do to mastering that experience and evolving through it.
And you're right. Acknowledge it, label it, so it don't look foreign to you when you see it.
Yeah.
It don't hit you like a hurricane.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. Let me deal with this.
Right.
And I remember my kid was hanging out at this late club. It was a place called The Tunnel, and she's 14. And I'm saying, it's Super Bowl night, and it's late, and she went, where? At that place that you got to be 18 to get in?
Right.
So that causes us to grab the keys, jump into the city, go to the club, and announce it. Let the guy, because I said, look, man, you're about to go to jail because you have a minor in this room, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And I think he had to announce her name in the club, and
Wow.
he had to walk through all that crowd, and the parents out there waiting for her. I think I was wearing some overalls. So that was a devastating night for all of us, because it actually let the wife at the time was physically got messed up by it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you're 14. What are you doing in a place that you got to be 18 or 21 to be in? Because you look 20. So that was a rough one. That she was there and we didn't know where she was and that kind of stuff.
What about regrets as a parent? Any regrets, if you have?
Yeah, regrets as a parent. Of course, having a connection with you earlier than age 14, having that settled when it should have been settled or dealt with,
Yeah.
I didn't do a good job with that at all. And that's the biggest regret, because clearly, they say, okay, never late, never.
Right.
But I think lateness is lateness. Lateness does have an effect, And to have you at age 3 in my life, or age 4, I mean, true, some fathers don't have the kids at all.
Right.
They can live in the same neighborhood and just not interested,
Absolutely.
Or choose to go 2,000 miles away from their child, so there won't be no, But yeah, that's the thing I regret more than anything. Not being with you, from your birth and all the way through. Not being, like I said, more de-Ericked as I raised my stepdaughter, my beautiful stepdaughter Mary. I wish I would have had more of my father's or more of another person's discipline to help out. I think we had a great relationship. I think what I offered her benefited her, and I think what she offered me benefited me. And we're really good now. But of course it wasn't easy. She was not an easy child to be around, and of course as a stepdad, it's even more uncomfortable because you don't know how to establish the boundaries.
Yes, that parenting, that's tricky.
So that was a tough deal for me being a stepfather. Worrying all the time, do I do this? Do I confront this? I go, yes, I snatched the phone out of her hand at 2 a.m. because you shouldn't be on the phone at 2 a.m. I had no problem doing that. And I used to make her cry because we would talk about school, because I would just make her cry by just talking to her, and I know what that pain was. I know just what that pain was. It's not just about, yes, I failed 1 grade or 2 grades, whatever, and I urge how work harder, get up in the morning, do the studying, get to school on time. But the pain was there from I guess the history, and I'm sorry, from, maybe being away from her father, because, no child deserves to not be with their natural father. And she was not, raised with a natural father for most of her life, And I'm sure that would hurt her. So I thought she did a good job as becoming a nice, beautiful young lady as a result of that,
Kudos to you, just even stepping into, what they call step parenting, step fathering, step mothering, whoever deals with that. I mean, I think it's tricky, especially when all the parents are present or alive, or because that can cause all kind of confusion. There's a lot of obstacles involved with that. So kudos to you, because that's something that I know a lot of people would not even want to deal with, just based off the dimensions that it provides.
Yes.
So one more question, all right? If you could press a button and change something about your parenting today, what would it be?
I would definitely push the button to discipline, the big D. Be more, because I don't see my kids all the time. We're separated, and when I see them, it's like long lost buddies. I haven't seen in a while, so let's spend an hour hugging each other, and I still got to be a daddy.
Yeah.
I still got to turn it on all the time, even though I'm glad to be with you. Because, like I said, we see each other 6 hours a week, maybe. I don't add it up because we're very busy. And when I see them, it's it's all buddy, let's go play ball, let's go bike ride. But I got to turn this parenting on all the time.
Yeah.
He needs it. He needs the discipline. She needs the discipline. I got to yell at them. Like I said earlier, when I'm 94, I'm going to be yelling at them and getting in their business and hopefully giving them good advice, whether they like to take it or not. So that's what I would switch. I would turn that switch today and increase my level of, is the word toughness? Or, an active parent that deals with discipline first. If I can turn that switch, I would turn the discipline switch on.
Okay. Well, you have given us a tremendous basket of gems to relate to and just reference to in regards to and when relating to our own parenting challenges. So I do appreciate you. We're definitely going to have you back on the show.
I look forward to it. Yes.
And then we'll put you behind the camera so you can so everybody can see what you look like.
Get my haircut ready. Get my line right. Got a bad line right now.
Yeah. And then we usually do a powerful parenting tip at the end of every show. And I like to, pull it from the conversation. And one that stands out the most is communication. I think that's something that a lot of us as human beings, just parents, but a lot of us as humans struggle with communication. We struggle with how to talk to each other, when to talk to each other, what to say, what not to say, how to get the message across, how to listen. Yeah. And I think that stands out strongly as something to really focus on. So the powerful parenting tip for this episode is to focus and be in tune with communication, because that is how we pass on the information. That is how we relate to our issues. That's how we say, yo, I got a problem and I don't want you to have this problem, so let's deal with this right now. So, but thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
doing this. This is awesome. I can't wait to do it again.
Yes.
And anyone here listening, please, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, send to your families and friends, and make sure you do all that you can to be the best that you can. Until next time, we'll see you again on Humanhood 101's Parental Confessions. Peace.